Hello everyone, Mystery here, and I am in a great mood because guess what I got to do yesterday? That's right, I got to hang out with my wife and dog. I certainly didn't play any video games, and I certainly won't be able to tell you anything about those video games here today. But what we can do is we can look over the extended Arbites gameplay footage that was released today, and I'll just give you sort of my take on what we see here. You know, I have a very critical eye, and I could probably pick out things that are in this footage that you might not notice as a casual observer. Now, there is going to be a limit to what I can say about certain things because I am under NDA, but this is my message to you, Mystery viewer, perhaps Slop-Tide News viewer. If you are a fan of my content and you are not yet subscribed, make certain you do because I am going to unleash an absolute onslaught of content on the 19th. That's right, the NDA lifts on the 19th, so you will start to see early access footage. All the stuff I'm recording while I'm playing right now will be uploaded then. So full gameplay with the Arbites class using all the new weapons, using all the abilities. We're going to be having long discussion videos talking about each of the abilities and how they function, how the dog functions, how the weapons rank. Then I'm going to be doing videos where I'm doing tier lists of all of the class's abilities, as some of you have been a fan of in the past. That'll be a long one. And then we'll do a full tier list ranking of the melee weapons and range weapons, since we'll have to accommodate that for the new additions that we know we're getting with the Arbites class. And yeah, it's just going to be a great time. And that's all before the 23rd, where I'm going to start to roll out those classic build guides that many of you know me for. So if you are in for that sort of content, please subscribe now. And also remember to show up for the stream that I'm going to be doing on the 23rd, starting at noon Eastern time, because I'm going to be giving away keys to this DLC if you don't have it. And if you do, I'll get you the deluxe edition key, so you can have extra drip and be dripped out like the rest of us. So that should all be a really, really good time. All right, let's go ahead and get into this footage here and see what we can see. Now, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. You might notice that this is not my footage, by the way. This is something that Fat Shark released, so we're perfectly clear to talk about anything here. I want to point out something here. Watch this little gauge on the side of the shield there. This gauge fills up over time, and you can see that this shield has like electrical energy in it. A lot of you were speculating in my comments last time that this has something to do with the weapon's special activation ability, since there is something in the lore where you can like bash the shield and unleash a blast of energy that like dazes enemies and stuff. So that is a pretty cool idea, I will say. The Arbites shotgun is sick, you know, just from what it looks like. I certainly haven't shot it myself. No, but I've played with it, and it looks very powerful here, doesn't it? Now you see that this meter has filled up even more, so you can tell that this is like building up charge over time. Remains to be seen if there's other ways to charge the shield up, but yeah, it builds up over time, and that's how you unleash this weapon's secret power. The class itself, we can see we have a couple different weapons on the team here. The one guy over here, the other sword and board user, he is using the mace and shield, but he's also using the aforementioned shot pistol and shield, which they've talked about in a previous update, which looks pretty cool. We saw that in the trailer as well, the teaser trailer, where swapping between that weapon and the sword and board that we have here, it's seamless. So you keep the shield out and you just swap your right hand, which looks awesome. Now there's going to be a cut here in a second. I'm fucking prophetic. I think what's going on here is they might have accidentally used an ability. Now there's only one ability that's actually showcased in this video. However, we're going to be able to draw conclusions about a lot of the class's abilities based on that. We already know that one of the class's abilities must be something to do, I think it's called the Nuncio Aquila or the Vox Aquilas, because they've talked about that in the previous trailer, or the previous content when they were talking about the class release, saying that like, oh yeah, like unleash the power of the Vox Aquilas, a brand new system that can CC enemies or something and buff allies. So that's one of the abilities we'd have to assume. Also note that this shield applies electrocution effects to enemies, which has been a very small subset of weapons like the shock maul that could do that previously. So this is really cool that we're getting more of those effects, and I bet we can look forward to the Arbites having some synergies with that within their whole kit, right? It seems like the I guess the internet is dead. It seems like the class is built around that sort of like CC synergy, since we've got all these cool shields and stun effects going on. I don't know what's going on with the buffering there. Fucking YouTube, man. They were very risky with that with the Demonos there. I'm gonna fast forward a second here, and we are gonna see the next interesting piece of interesting kit that they bring out. I want you to watch our character, this guy right here. So you can see he's got the shot pistol and the shield, but he's going to do something more interesting in this next room that you might miss if you blinked. And you'll see it again at the end of the video to see how effective this actually is. Let me turn it up for you too. Alright, so right there, he has his pistol out, and then he swaps, and he doesn't have any weapons out, so we know he's got his grenade in his hands, because that's the only time where you can pull out something that's not a weapon, right? So he's got his grenade in his hands. You see he's holding it like down here, and then there he goes. He throws it like a little frisbee disc, and it lands somewhere here. I think that's it right there. So you see it, that little puck right there, and as this enemy gets close, boom, you can see the electricity is arcing from, there it is right there. You can see it's like a little mine, and the electricity is going from it, and it's shocking and CCing this bulwark. Now, this bulwark dies in really quick succession anyway, so it doesn't ultimately matter, but we'll see another excellent use of this Blitz ability at the end of the game. And check this out also. When this is CC'd, look at this dog. This dog, the dog, he is able to CC like small enemies, like man-sized enemies. He'll pin them down. We'll see that later. But for larger enemies, like this bulwark, he'll bounce off of them and knock them back. So if this guy wasn't already CC'd, that kick from the dog there would have knocked his shield back so that you can finish him off. And look at how fast that dog responded there as well. The dog was ready to pounce on that mutant during the charge. So like if this ally had gotten hit by that mutant, the dog would have bounced off of him and knocked him free before he even got slammed, which is really cool that the dog is that responsive. That was one of my main fears about it, is the dog would just kind of be like lagging behind and you'd have to tell it to do everything. But it seems like it has a lot of like autonomy in how it acts. It's very, very responsive. In fact, like you see here, it's just going ahead and pinning and mauling enemies like as you walk by them. And we'll see another good example of that in a second here. So let's fast forward and check that out once he reaches the upper floor. I think it's up at the top of these stairs here. Yeah, we're gonna get to the top of the stairs. Yeah, dog just finishing off some enemies for us. So we come on up here and we're struggling with that enemy there, but we've got a scan, and oh, there's a mauler in this room. Let me start beating him, and then here comes the dog, and this guy realizes, oh, he's got the mauler pinned. The dog does not get off of human-sized enemies unless you command him to, so that mauler is guaranteed dead. You don't even have to interact with him. You can see he finally kills him there. It takes a while because the mauler has high health, and this guy might not have any like points put into buffing the dog, as I said you can do. But yeah, he does finish his enemies off, so you can focus on other stuff. And in this next room up here, we get to see another great use of the dog. The dog is really good at kind of scouring the perimeter, it seems like. Like, look, he routes out this guy over here, like an isolated gunner. And if this guy took one more second rather than shoot this guy, the dog was already on him. The dog finished off that little scab gunner over to the right, and he's making a beeline for the second guy. So that is a very, very valuable thing, I think, about the dog, is that oftentimes one of the most annoying enemy types are these gunners who get themselves into these little like hidey holes where they're like peeking behind boxes and stuff, and when you're operating in the area, you're just getting peppered by constant fire. The dog is going to erase a good portion of those threats, especially considering they are like low health targets that get killed very quickly by the dog's attacks, and they also get killed pretty quickly by the executioner shotgun here, which is a sick gun. It is so impressive in sound design and appearance too. They really nailed it with that. All right, let's go ahead and fast forward to the last fight in this footage here. There's really not much going on. As you've noticed, this is definitely not mystery tier gameplay because this is way harder than I usually like to play the game on. But we'll see if they can get a good fight here at the end. Blasting away. Alright, so we got ourselves a Chaos Spawn coming in here. Let's see what these classes can't do against it. First of all, a big horde coming down the stairs, and boom, there is our next ultimate ability. So this is the only ultimate ability they physically show in this trailer, and he charges forward and he stuns every enemy at the end of the charge, which means Mystery is a fucking prophet. He literally called this in the teaser before there was any footage, or before this was even declared to be a class. I said, you know, based on this dog teaser footage, this class is going to have a charge forward with a CC at the end, and boom, there you go. So he's knocking him back and forth, electrocuting him with the maul, but he gets pulled off here because he forgets the #1 rule, which is watch out for the silent trapper. And another like timely cut. Now there's an interesting little thing there, and I'm not certain what that is. It's hard to tell from the footage. I'm going to slow it down as much as possible. I think that was after it. Where is it? It's right here. So right here, there's this big shockwave that comes through, and I can't really tell what that's from. That might be something to do with the charge ability of the shield that people were speculating about, but it might also be that I think this guy also has that charge, the dash that we just saw our character in this footage do. But our character does take a rip to that. Now here we get to see our second Blitz ability. So we've already seen the little mine, the shock mine. This is like an impact grenade. Pull the pin, throw it, boom, instant detonation. Really cool. You know, I don't know why I didn't think about an impact grenade as a grenade option for this class. It's something that we don't have anywhere else in the game. We have grenades with like a timer, like a delay timer, but an impact is pretty cool. Like it does what it needs to do the second it hits the target, which means that you don't have to worry about like bouncing it right to hit a boss. You just nail the boss like in the face and it explodes. And there, look on the stairs right now. A excellent use of the shock mine. And we also just saw the third Blitz here, but we'll see it again in a second. Look at the dog, by the way, riding the. Do you see it on the back? Look at this shock mine. Look at the value that this is generating. So this, look, all those enemies would be in this area fucking with us, but instead they are being held up by this shock mine, and they have been doing so for at least the last 5 seconds, if not longer. They're getting held in this choke point. Very, very valuable to have this. I can imagine this being extremely useful when we're talking about like Havoc and the densities we have there, because it seems like there's no limit to the amount of enemies that it's going to CC at that choke point. Okay, and I'm trying to pull out the Blitz here. The dog also getting in there. This is another thing I want to note about the dog. The dog doesn't seem to need to be ordered around, right? It just sort of does its own thing, and it makes its own value. We would be able to tell based on the noise of targeting if the character that we're playing at is, even though they have the HUD off, we would see them highlighting targets and hear that like noise that it makes. That would send the dog in, because they've said that double tagging a target will send the dog to them. But this dog is just doing its own thing, and I think that's one of the cool ideas, or the cool concepts about having the dog alongside the class, is that it can just do its own thing and you can do your own thing, and it's just this constant passive benefit, but it's a very unique passive benefit. I think it adds a lot of flavor to the class, and you don't feel so alone when you have it either. So throwing that grenade in there, nice impact. And here, let's watch the right side of the screen. We're gonna see the last Blitz ability, or the last ability. It might be a class ability, we can't tell. Okay, so boom, there it goes. What was that? Let's rewind the footage and see what that is that explodes. It is in fact a dog. One of the dogs just explodes in a big burst of like electrical energy, and it knocks the boss back. So pretty cool. It like seems to apply electrocution to the boss too, and it keeps it out of the fray. It knocks it back quite a lot. So that's a cool ability. Look at these dogs like bouncing off the thing. And this shock mine is still going on up here, by the way. So that's like at least 10 seconds, if not longer, that has been going on. So very cool showcase. If you counter up We have already seen them talk about the Vox Aquilis or whatever, the Nuncio Aquilis or whatever it is in the past, the ability that we have not yet seen in gameplay. We just saw some sort of short-range charge with the shield bash at the end. We also saw all three what I think must be like grenade abilities. Maybe that last one with the dog shocking is a class ability, but it seems a little bit weak for like a class ability, right? Unless you could buff it up somehow. So we saw an impact grenade and we saw a shock mine and we saw the dog like electrical detonation sort of thing. All very cool, and there's certainly plenty more to come. When my NDA drops on the 19th, I will be giving you guys all the information you could ever want about this stuff, so don't worry if you're getting antsy. It's literally only a week away and you will get all the slop tide you have ever dreamed of. So until then, I will see you guys, and I'm gonna go play some more Dark Tide. Peace out.